Well, I mean, I don't think anyone's doing anything with the Kung Fu property right now, so let's see what somebody does with the knockoff. So, announcement that, well, not announcement, but breaking news that I found kind of surprising. Deadline, who has a pretty solid track record on their breaking news panning out. They're usually pretty good at labeling something unsubstantiated if it is. That Disney or Marvel is going to be doing a movie for Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu. I like the article says that it's going to be a movie, and they say a tentpole, which to me says like in theaters. That was surprising because when I saw the name Shang-Chi, I thought, oh, I bet they're doing a streaming show or a streaming miniseries or a streaming film even, and then it's like it's implying that it's going to be in theaters. I'm like, really? But it made a connection that has it make more sense, but if this is the thinking, I think it might bite them in the butt. So what the Deadline article references is it makes the connection to Black Panther, which was obviously huge. And Black Panther was, the first black superhero of the current sort of cycle of superheroes. Not the first black superhero in movies ever, but first one of like the cinematic universe era. In a film directed by a black man, focusing on black characters, set in Africa. Like it really embraced all that and yielded huge dividends and was a very good movie in addition to all that. So the idea seems to now be that they are going to try and do something similar to that with an Asian character. I think Shang-Chi is Chinese. I should have checked that. I actually don't know because I don't know the character that well. I enjoy martial arts stuff every now and then, but martial arts comics never been my bag really. But they're looking at Asian directors and all of that, and they've got somebody working on a script, guy who wrote The Expendables, I believe, working on the script. And if the idea is that they're hoping to do for Asian audiences what Black Panther did for black audiences, I think they are going to be sorely disappointed. I think the telltale sign of this will be how much money they spend. Because if they spend as much on this as they spent making Black Panther, yeah, they're going to get real disappointed by the returns on this. If they keep it as a controlled budget, which honestly I think you could with this character, he's perfect for a fighting tournament style story, which you can do relatively cheaply. But the reason that I say it might bite them in the butt, if they're hoping to replicate what happened with Black Panther, is that there isn't the same hole in the market that there was for Black Panther. Now, because Black Panther wasn't just the first black superhero of the current cycle of superhero filmmaking. It also went in hard on looking at Africa, at African characters, at African culture. And while you could say there's a ton of superhero movies that did that and embrace this aesthetic, the whole Afrofuturism thing, not much. There wasn't much there, really nothing at a high budget. So there was just a hole in the market that Disney and Marvel found, and they filled with, again, I feel a very good movie. Shang-Chi, by comparison, where we don't exactly have an aching absence of kung fu films. Again, you could make the argument there hasn't been a really good big budget kung fu movie in a long time. I'm not even sure what the last one might be, but it's not as much of there's a need and something that they could get in on with this that there was with Black Panther, because martial arts films have never really gone away as much as the sort of trend that Shang-Chi was created to profit off of, back when he was created in the 70s, I think. It waned, but it never went away. And I'm not, from my understanding of the folks that I know who like Kung Fu movies, I don't think throwing more money at it is going to automatically pull them in. So I think whether or not this works, again, depends on how much, it could be comparable to Black Panther insofar as it allows Marvel to sort of have another milestone in its cap in terms of, getting to an Asian lead character first for this cycle of superheroes, which, that's not a bad thing. But if they're expecting the level of cultural fun, and if they make a good movie, again, assuming they make a good movie and not an embarrassment, then it will. There's a good chance of it being embraced by an audience that feels like it hasn't gotten a character made specifically for them yet. But again, because of the genre that Shang-Chi takes place in, it's just not as much of a void. It's not as much of a vacuum that's just waiting to be filled as Black Panther was. I mean, because Black Panther is equal parts superhero and Game of Thrones, and like I said, the really unique aesthetic it brought to it. And I just don't think Shang-Chi has as much uniqueness to offer in it, beyond just offering a superhero to a demographic that hasn't had one in this current cycle of films. Sort of setting aside the business end of it and the returns end of it, like I said, for my money, I think a tournament would be a really good thing to do. What I don't want them to do, sort of, again, setting aside the business end and the demographics in the box office and all that, what I don't want them to do is to turn Shang-Chi into a generic superhero. Keep him as he is. Have him be the Kung Fu master. Have him exist in that world. Use a genre that is different from the other stuff, because that's usually been the best, or at least most entertaining and interesting Marvel films of the later end of things. Because as much as I might like Doctor Strange, it is ultimately another superhero origin. Whereas I can look at something like Captain America Winter Soldier and go, that's an espionage thriller. And I can look at something like, well, I was going to say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I don't even know how to classify that one, but it's practically a family drama. Or, Ant-Man, it's a heist film. So there's all these, when they sort of drill into the uniqueness of a character, not just the gimmicks, but what genres it could allow them to explore, I really want them to dig into that more, because at this point, their stable of characters, the big ones, are always going to be safe bets. They are always going to have, I say always, eventually the actors will stop playing Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, whatever. But they've got plenty of just superhero movies. Let's really start exploring some of the genres that Marvel Comics can and have touched on that will give a different feel to it, and don't force it into a superhero structure. I think that's going to be their best bet. But then again, as I said, Kung Fu movies as a genre are much more well-trodden ground than what they were able to do with Black Panther. So even if they go in that direction and do the Marvel version of a Kung Fu tournament movie, which I would still like to see, I don't think they should be expecting Black Panther level interest in that, because, we've got Kung Fu movies. But yeah, I don't know. I'll see. I'll be keeping an eye on this one. Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu, getting a film. What do you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. A whole bunch of stuff that you can do, because there's buttons and there's links, including one to my Patreon if you're feeling generous. If not, don't worry about it. Other links you can check out. Don't want to click on those? That's fine too, because at the end of the day, you're the council. I just run the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.